So I've got a little different video today. You may notice that I'm not at my PC. We're not going to be gaming. I just kind of want to have a discussion. And before we get into that, you may be wondering what all of this is about. And you'll notice that I've got some of this. And I only break this out whenever there's something to celebrate or a special occasion, that sort of thing. And I kind of want to celebrate. It was a fun time out in Arlington. It's a big deal for those guys at Midnight Society. And it's also a big deal across the FPS genre. So what I thought would be fun is we're going to make ourselves a Kentucky Mule, or AKA a Black Steel Mule. It's actually probably my favorite cocktail. If you're not familiar with what's in a Moscow Mule, it's got vodka, ginger beer, and lime juice. Instead of using vodka, I'm going to use the Black Steel. Here in Kentucky, we also call those Kentucky Mules with bourbon instead of vodka. While I'm pouring that, we're just going to talk about the experience, talk about the whole trip, and I've got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of good stuff here. But before we dive into that, here's a few shots from my perspective at the event. Alright, so obviously the first thing up is some Black Steel. I actually ordered 2 of these bottles. Yeah, I've got this one. This one's unopened, but this is the one that I've been using for special events, that sort of thing. If you're wanting to get some Black Steel and you can't, this is my recommendation. 4 Roses, pretty good. I'm not gonna measure. I never really measure. I just pour, I don't know, somewhere around there. Then a little bit of lime juice. This is actually a charcuterie board and I don't want to get in trouble by my wife. So I've got a towel over there. I typically throw in a whole lime. I like it on the sweeter side. And top it off with ginger beer. And we're gonna stir it with a butter knife because we're in Kentucky and that's how we do things. No, I can't find my, my stirrer. So that's my Black Steel Mule. Cheers. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's good. So let's get into the purpose of why I'm making this video. When I was going out to Arlington, before we left, I was thinking, man, I'm going 110% content creator out there. And what I mean by that is I was packing every single piece of camera gear. I ordered a new mic. I had all these plans of, man, I'm gonna pull Quinn to the side. I'm gonna pull Rob to the side. We're gonna do some interviews. Maybe I can pull Doc in. You know, I was really thinking like, this is gonna be my chance to create some awesome content. And so I did it, man. I packed up all that stuff and I brought it all the way over to Arlington, Texas with me. And I just want to talk about what my experience was and why I didn't do that. The event was on Friday night and we flew in on Thursday and we were there from Thursday to Saturday. I think that was the majority of everyone's plans, just to be there for a couple days and then fly back home. Where we stayed at on Thursday, the convention center was right outside of this hotel. It was within walking distance, so a lot of the founders, a lot of the people going to the event stayed at that hotel. And when we arrived, a few of us got together, we went down to the bar and sat there for a couple hours chatting it up, ordering drinks, that sort of thing. And the wildest thing happened. So Guy Beam walks around the corner, and if I can paint you a picture on this, it was kind of like the old westerns, you know, when the guy walks into the saloon and he opens up the door and steps in and everybody's chatting and they stop chatting and they just kind of do one of those things and it gets really quiet. That's what the experience was for us. So a guy walks in and he just sits down, orders himself a drink, and starts chatting with us. You know, in that moment, it struck me like, oh man, I need to go upstairs. I need to get my gear. I need to come back down. I need to start talking to him, that sort of thing. You know, I'm sitting here and I'm watching him. He's only like 3 or 4 chairs down from me. And the swarm of people come over there and they're just chatting it up with, you know, everything gaming, everything Deadrop related. And Guy's just sitting there and he's having a conversation, having a drink, just sitting at the bar, right? That is delicious. And then as I'm really starting to feel like, hey, I should really go get it, his wife and his daughter come in. That's when I really kind of got out of that content creation mindset, and I sat back and I watched a guy just hang out with a couple of gamers talking gaming. And so I said, you know what, I'll catch him maybe tomorrow at the event. Maybe we'll do it then. Then I think what they did afterwards, they went to dinner, the whole dev team, Guy, his wife, daughter, all of them went out. We didn't see them for a while, so we went back up to the rooms, hung out for a little bit, and then somebody came back up and said, hey, they're back if you're interested. Don't know if you want to talk to them. So a few of us went back down. We come to the lobby, and there's probably 40, 50 people. You've got the entire dev team all in the hotel lobby, all spread out. They're sitting on chairs and standing up, talking to people, taking pictures, that sort of thing. And I just had to sit back and marvel at the fact that this team of developers, they do not owe us any of this. Those guys could have easily just hid away in their rooms, stayed somewhere else, told us that they had no time to talk right now. But that's the special thing about Midnight Society and how they're doing things, is that not only are they completely exposed on the game development side, but 100% vulnerable on just a personal level. Like I said, they could have roped off a section of the bar. They could have maybe sat somewhere else, told us, hey, we're not able to talk to you guys right now. We don't have time, that sort of thing. But that was the vibe the whole weekend. Thursday night was like that. Friday morning we had breakfast with them in the hotel lobby. It's a small little breakfast area. They were kind of scattered all around us, and you could just hear the multiple different conversations going on. Fast forward to the event, got to chat it up with Rob for just a couple minutes, that sort of thing. And the opportunity for content creation was abundant. At any point, I could have broke out my camera and mics and all that, and we could have had plenty of discussions. But first of all, it was really, really awesome to hear the stories of people who had maybe never met Doc, never met Rob, Quinn, those guys, and got a chance to talk to them. I was fortunate to go to the LA event, and I've been pretty close to the Twitter spaces, that sort of thing. So I've spoken to the developers quite a bit. And that's not me really trying to flex at all. It's just, I already had those conversations, those handshakes, those pictures, that sort of thing with them. It was really cool to get to talk to people and see how excited they were to get a chance to talk to Guy, get a chance to talk to Rob and Quinn and anybody else, Darren Bacon, any of those guys. That was so fun for me to hear, because I remember being that way in LA. Now I'm getting to see that from a different perspective, But once the event was over with, this is when things really got interesting to me, because we hung around a little bit after the event was over with. There was this huge meet and greet line, and tons of people, most of the people that went to the event was in the line. That's where you could meet Scump, Z-Laner, Doc, the devs. I mean, there was just so many people at this event, right? And we really didn't want to sit in that line, so we decided to go back to the hotel. We knew that we would be bumping into those guys, at least some of those guys, after the event. So we went back to the hotel bar, hung out there for a little bit. Oddly enough, whenever we came back to the hotel bar, Doc's wife was already there with her daughter. I think she was eating a salad and having some drinks. Got to say hi very quickly, and then we went on and got our drinks, that sort of thing, and we were all just kind of hanging out. We decided to go back up to the rooms, hang out there for a little bit, have some fun, chat it up. One of the guys had his laptop open, so we were able to jump into the snapshot, and we did that for a few hours. It was just a good time. And then about 3:30 a.m. somebody comes in and was like, hey, Z is still down here if you guys are interested in saying hi to him. And I had never met Z before. I didn't meet him at the event, so I was like, you know what, that would be pretty cool to get a picture with Z-Laner. So we head down there, and this is where things really get interesting for me on a personal level. So we're heading down there, and I'm going to talk to Z. I think he was maybe outside or whatever, and so I'm heading that direction. And then I get a call from Brian Miggles, who is sitting on the couch in the hotel lobby. If you're unfamiliar with Brian Miggles, he's the VP brand marketing for Midnight Society. Fantastic guy. And he calls me over by my name. So he says, hey, Joker, come over here and take a seat. And at this time, I've had way too many drinks, and I'm like, man, I really wish I could be having this conversation 100% sober. But here we go. Brian just kind of tells me, hey, I appreciate what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm thinking in the back of my head, like, how did I go from wanting to be a fan with Z-Laner to now I'm sitting here with the VP of brand marketing with Midnight Society. And it's not just him. There's quite a few developers around. They're kind of sitting in a circle in this hotel lobby, right? and they're just sitting back having a good time, just relaxed. And as a content creator, having one of the head guys call you over and sit you down, it meant a lot. It really did. To continue that conversation, it went from talking with Brian to I sat down with Darren Bacon, and we had a conversation about the feedback process and what that looks like. If you're familiar with my channel, I've done feedback videos where we kind of go through the survey and we fill out the different questions, fill out any kind of details that we want to add. But it got really interesting with Darren because we brought up the skybox. We were talking specifically about the skybox for Snapshot 5. And Darren was expressing concerns of, did I go too big? You know, and he was looking to me and saying, what do you think? You know, what's your thoughts on the skybox? Is it too much? And so I was able to give him that feedback of, no, man, I think it's perfect. It was fantastic. And then we got into the feedback survey, and you know, he basically told me that it's kind of his fault that there's not anything art related on there, because Allison, the producer, reaches out to the team to say, hey, what do we want to put on this Snapshot feedback survey? And Darren was saying that he just didn't send anything back. Which is kind of a move that I would do at work, if I'm being honest. But, you know, I was able to sit there and say, hey, man, so, like, maybe think about putting something there for art, even if it's not specific to one thing, because as you're going through the survey, I'm not in the mindset to really think about art. What I'm specifically thinking about is the questions that are being asked to me. And on the last one, on Snapshot 4, for example, I believe it was just about the features. And so, like, I really gave Allison and Darren just the challenge of, like, hey, maybe give me the chance to pause while I'm going through that feedback. Give me the chance to think, oh, wait a second. Yeah, let's think about the art, specifically the art. How is the lighting in this area? You know, that conversation went on for 10, 15 minutes, but it was really, really good to sit down, have a conversation with a couple of devs, and for one, get some confirmation that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm heading in the right direction, and then two, to actually be able to deliver some feedback in person, you know, beyond the Snapshot feedback survey, to actually sit with Darren and discuss those things and express some, I wouldn't really call them concerns, but just give him some feedback in person. And from what I could tell, he accepted that. He said, he turned to Allison and he said, you know, this is what we need to put on the feedback survey. And that's really it. That's just what I wanted to talk about, was just my experience, everything outside of the event. Don't get me wrong, I had such a blast at the event. I was front row, got to do it with my friends, and my wife was there. It was just a core memory for me. It's such a blast, right? Everything that happened outside of the event was really what I'm taking away is incredible. If I could just speak to the guys at Midnight Society for a second, I just kind of want to give that same feedback that Brian gave to me, that you guys are doing the right things. You're going the right direction. Keep doing what you're doing, because I'm having these conversations within the community. I'm seeing those faces light up when they get back from talking to you guys, that, you know, I had just this awesome conversation with Rob. We were talking about this and this and what we could change here, and, you know, I talked to Quinn and got his opinions on what he thought about this, and everything that you're doing right now is what I've always dreamed about as a kid, growing up into gaming, just being involved in this whole process. And a lot of you watching this video may be saying, Matt, you're kind of taking this into you're kind of creating a Midnight Society hype video. Yeah, I am. I can't think of any kind of AAA studio that is doing this. They're exposing themselves. They're being 100% vulnerable, not just on paper, but in person. I know firsthand experience, right? Having these conversations with these guys in person. But in closing, I just want to tell Midnight Society how much I'm grateful for the opportunity to come along and be a part of this, to be a content creator that gets to share ideas with the team, gets to give that feedback, and then to hear that feedback back myself from the developer team, and hearing them say, like, hey man, you're doing the right thing. It's worth more than any kind of cool content that I could provide to you guys. I could have had some interviews with the devs, and that would have been cool, and maybe that's something that I do in a future founder event or whatever. But this trip to me was more about sitting back and getting to enjoy the stories of all the guys that have never met those guys. I just want to give that feedback back to Midnight Society and say, hey man, you guys are doing the right thing. I hope you guys are feeling that momentum, kind of reaching across the aisle and having a blast, and this journey together is so fun. But anyway, I'll shut it down there. I kind of rambled on about anything and everything on this one. But if you like Deadrop content, if you're interested in Midnight Society, if you want to play Snapshot 5, I have a referral code. You can get 20% off to get into this whole thing with the tower key. I'll have that below. Also, I'm going to have Midnight Society's info below as well. Maybe some developers, so you can reach out to them for any kind of questions. I know Rob is pretty active on Twitter. He's very responsive typically. Also, you can always hit me up in the comments. I don't know everything, but I'm pretty close to the project, so maybe I can answer some questions. Anyway, we'll dive into some gameplay later this week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and hey, I'll see you on the next one.